All right, we are live. Well, we're not really live, are we? You don't know when I did this. But right now, I'm live. So welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so I have a 16 by 20 inch canvas here. It is a Monday. Whew, Mondays are tough, but let's paint something simple at least and try to make it work. Make sure my light didn't mess up the video. There we go. See that little glow in the left hand corner and get rid of that. There we go. That works a little better. That's my palette light for my table. So, alright, look what I'm doing. It's back here, so why not? Right now, that's all the colors I have out. I'm going to need a couple more, I'm sure. I'm going to try to hold the palette today. It was laying here, I said, why not? And we'll just mix. Maybe I won't make as big a mess, but probably will in the end. I'm going to take, you never want to, I've still got a little liquid white on my brush. You can always wipe that off if you need to. I'm not really worried about it. It won't hurt anything. So there's liquid white on the top part of my canvas. It's about right there. It's about right there. Alright, so that's phthalo blue. Let's grab just a little bit. And you never want to like Norman Bates your paint and like stab it like it's a psycho shower scene. You want to kind of get up here and pull a little bit of that down. And then you kind of beat that brush in there. Beat that brush in there. Both sides. See, I turn it around here. And that will make sure that we don't have any chunks on one part of the brush and it makes a big streak on your canvas. That's one reason you want to pound that paint into your brush. So let's go up here and we'll just start. Oh, boy, I put some paint on there today, didn't I? Apparently I wanted a brighter sky, or more vivid sky, I guess what I would say, not a brighter one. You can leave some little areas, and again, that pressure on that brush is going to make a big difference. So if I want it darker, I'm going to push a little harder. If I want it a little lighter, get off the brushes. Get back here on the brush. Don't choke up on the bat so much. And look, I got a little brown from somewhere. I have no clue where that comes from. Let's go let this stop about right here somewhere. I may throw it a little darker. I don't know. Sometimes I go too light, I think, especially for these videos. And you see the little background on my canvas there. It's always an issue, isn't it? Let's grab a little bit more. Just a little bit. And I won't always hold my palette here. It was laying here from my virtual Zoom class, and I said, well, I'll just hold this today. It's a wonderful little palette. I don't get no kickbacks from them, but it's a New Wave palette. Got it on Jerry's Artorama. It's very comfortable. It's the most comfortable palette I've held, and it's very firm, and it's perfect. It cleans up well, too. I've used that probably 15 times. You can't really see any paint on it. Scratches a little bit, but that's just from the knife. Let's get a little darker up here in these corners. We always want to make our corners just a little bit darker. We can always, if you have a little Prussian blue sitting next to you, I don't really want to get it out today. You can always take a little Prussian blue and mix that with your phthalo blue and kind of put the Prussian and the phthalo mixture up here in these corners. And that will make your painting just even darker. Even darker. See, I've got to go a little darker over here just to get rid of some of that indication of that frame back there. There we go. That'll work. Alright. I have not gone that dark with the sky in forever. What does that look like on camera? Well, it looks pretty good. And that's just phthalo blue. Phthalo blue. Because I don't want to clean that brush back here, I'm just going to take a 1 inch and just kind of set this down if I wanted to a little bit. You won't see some of this down here, but you always want to start in your lighter area and work up. Always starting in the light and working to the dark. That way you don't bring the dark down into the light. Now, if you want to do that, we won't get on to you. There's no hard and fast rules here for anything. There shouldn't be in art. Right? Do we want any clouds? It's pretty bright. Maybe one. One or three. I don't want one or two. One or three. So I'll take a fan brush here and go to some titanium white. And again, I'm always pulling from that edge. I'm cutting from the edge of paint. I'm pulling down from the edge of the paint. And just kind of loading up that brush pretty well on both sides. And let's just do some crazy clouds. Just smack your brush in here and just... Alright. Wipe your brush off. Go back to your white. Because if not, because we've got a lot of paint up there, you're going to you're going to get it all blue. Just keep wiping until you get the intensity of white that you want. And I'm just kind of smacking. Watch this. And just wherever it goes is fine. We can go a little bit darker up in here. It doesn't really matter. And I'm just twisting that brush. Now I'm thinking of cloud shapes as I do that. Okay, I'm not just twisting it and letting it stay in one spot. If you do that, you're going to just get a big mud ball of white paint. Yeah. While I like clouds, I don't like mud balls. So if you get a little odd spot like that, just blend it out. There's nothing that we can't fix on this canvas. Now, some people can fix it better than me. So it depends on your, I don't want to say talent level, because it's not really talent. Your experience level. There we go. And I'm just going to wipe that fan brush out again. It's picking up a lot of that blue because I've got more blue paint on there than I typically put. And that's one of the things that happens when you use a lot of blue. I'm just going to kind of brighten some of these edges up a little bit now. If you don't keep going back and going back and going back, you can get away with going back a couple of times. You can't go back 827 times. Get what I was trying to say there. And just kind of move that paint around. There is no need to do little circles or anything, but you can. How you learn to paint clouds is up to you. See, I'm doing little circles now. Okay, there is nothing wrong with any of these methods. It's just sometimes I think this method of putting clouds on here is a little bit more loose and free. That's just me. It doesn't mean it's right. Yeah, this is art. There is no right or wrong. There's rules, I do suppose, you know, perspective rules and things. Mixing colors, you know, if you want to get a certain color, you can't just magically make it happen from definitely the two colors you have out. You've got to find the right two colors. So that would be kind of a rule. See what that looks like. Yeah, just kind of a light cloud. And again, what if you said, all right, it's not clean enough for me. It's not bright enough. Again, wipe that out on a paper towel. And I always wipe the fan brush from the ferrule to the tips. I'm not jerking. I'm just kind of squeezing a little bit on the paint and pushing it out. Let's just go up here and add some cleaner white and say, where do we want it the brightest? Right there. Okay, see, I brighten that little spot. Grab some more clean white. Do I want it bright right there? Maybe. I can stretch that out, whatever. Some of this you won't see, so I'm not too worried about it. Just kind of let that one go off there. Okay, what about up here? You just keep getting brighter and brighter until you say that's enough. And I'm going to say that's enough for now. I don't want to do a 20-minute cloud. And then blend as much as you think it needs. I'm not a fan of blending the tops always, but you can just barely get in there and set some of that thicker paint into the cloud. Definitely want to cover it up. There we go. And then I always blend back into the dark, let it almost disappear. Well, pretty much it did disappear, didn't it? And there's a nice big old, I don't know my clouds, kind of like my trees. I don't really know what I'm talking about. All right, I'm going to grab a palette knife, and I don't think I've talked about this palette knife. You may have seen me use it before, but I don't know. I got this palette knife from a friend, and I never used it, and it's the best thing I've ever used as far as for painting. If you are a guitar player or repair guitars, you may recognize the brand. I had no clue. This is a guitar palette knife. It's for repairing the bridge or whatever of the guitar. Don't ask me why, but it's got a long edge, short edge, and then a middle edge. It's pretty cool knife. So I'm going to mix up a little paint. I'll take the phthalo blue, and a little bit of burnt umber. And just kind of mix those two together. Maybe just a touch more burnt umber in there. I want to go kind of blue with my mountain today, but also just a little different. Just a little more. There we go. Play around with it until you get it to where you like it. And again, you could use like a mountain mixture that you make up, that's your favorite, whatever. But this is what I'm going to use today, and just kind of smash that out flat. Makes a little little roll of paint there, R-O-W, and then we're going to cut. Put our knife down, just kind of scoot right across it, of paint. Got a little roll, R-O-L-L, of paint. You didn't know it was going to be a Sesame Street episode where Bram starts spelling things. And that's about the extent. I better not spell anymore. So I want my biggest peak of, I'm going to put it right in that cloud there. And it's going to kind of come down, and it's going to have little juts over here. Little juts over here. I've got to work. Again, I love these canvases. There's Sunbelt canvases, the best canvases I can use. Now I do like the Michaels level 2 and 3. They're really nice too, but they get really expensive unless you can get them on sale. But Sunbelt, again, not sponsored or anything. They don't give me canvases. They are excellent canvases. Just when you order, make sure you order a. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll put the kind that I use in the description, but also tell them absolutely that you want a tightly stretched canvas, and they will do that for you, because it works better if it's a little bit tighter for this method. Oh, didn't mean to do that. I had to fix that. A little bit tighter, it's going to work a little bit better for you. What that means is the canvas is actually stretched really tight. This one's a little loose today. I forgot to tell them. But the canvas is just excellent. The canvas material, the frame is really nice. You'll never have any issues with that, except for when you're painting on it. We're just putting a little mountain on here. It's a Monday. I figured I'd just do something easy today and crank it out. Scrape most of that off. Okay, scrape most of that off. Leave that little Kenny log in his danger zone there. That's a little harsh angle there. There we go. I always like to think of little ski slopes almost, unless I'm doing like a cliff, you know, kind of going straight down. It works better that way. All right, let's take a 1-inch brush, 2-inch brush, whatever you have handy, and let's just kind of smooth a little bit of this out. Well, wherever we start doesn't matter. Just kind of pull that out. Now, I don't have a lot of liquid white on this canvas right now in this mountain zone. This is a mountain time zone. I don't like that little part of that mountain. Give me just this little part. Oh, I kind of like it being there, but I didn't like the shape of it. There we go. Got 2 little peaks there now. So we're going to have to kind of just hope this works. I've started not putting too much liquid white when I do a mountain, and it just helps. It's going to help if you don't have a lot of base coat under there. And it gets you your white or whatever color you're putting on your mountain is going to stick a little bit easier. And again, just kind of shaping this as we go. Now, when I want some mist in here, that's the only time that the liquid white is an advantage on the mountain. So then we got to think about, what do we do to get that mist? I'll show you. I think I've showed you in a different video too. Hope everybody's doing well. Spring is right around the corner. That always makes me happy. I love winter, but I do not like cold rain. And that's all we seem to get around here is just cold rain. Don't understand it. So, if I wanted a little mist at the base of my mountain, I could take just a clean brush, or clean the one you're using, and get a little bit of liquid white on it. Come on here. Where are we going? Come on. Trying to get just a little bit. Maybe too much, but right there. We get a little bit on there, and we start under that color, and we just kind of put that in there. Okay, just kind of a little bit of that. And then what I'm going to do is work it down just a little bit more. That's where the brown's coming from, my liquid white. I'm going to work that into just the base of that mountain. Just the base. Just into the base. So the top part, top 2/3 of my mountain is very, very dry. But now this part has got a little bit of liquid white in it. And it will look like it's sitting in the painting. It'll look like it's misting down here. And we can, you know, grab a little bit and pull a little bit more of that down if you wanted to. There we go. Better grab that too. There we go. It almost looks like a little cloud behind that peak. It's just where I didn't put paint, but I'm going to leave that. All right. clean our knife off. Let's clean the old knife. Let's just do kind of a, like I said, just a kind of a simple mountain today. Paint's making my nose run again. Nothing new, right? Nothing new. So we got our sky. We got a nice big cloud back there behind that mountain. And then we've got our mountain shape. Let's take some of that titanium white. Let's try to clean off the blue, or get rid of that blue. And let's, we need a color in this today. We don't want green. Let's take just a touch of the brown and see what that does. Yeah, just something. Maybe just a touch more. Kind of leave it marbled like that. See that? Don't turn it over 18 times. Just kind of run over it a little bit. Let's see what that looks like. Grab a little roll of paint and let's just start over here. You can take that paint and put it right on top of that edge. Oh yeah, I like that a little bit. And I'm going to do this a little slower today. I'm just going to take little runs at it like that, okay? I'm not going to try to do the whole peak at one time. But you guys can see a little bit better how I do them. And you don't need a ton of paint for this. I like that little bit of brown in there. That's kind of nice. Gives it a little more rockier feel than snow. Yeah, maybe there's a little bit right in here. I don't know. Just something like that. And then we can start on the big guy here. Right on the outside edge. Something like that. There we go. This knife does fabulous. If you've got one of these at home, like I said, if you repair guitars or you're a guitar player, maybe you have one of these. Try it. Because it's the best palette knife I've used. Just kind of scooping up that paint as I need it. Let's go here. Let's bring this one all the way through. Now see, I don't like that one little edge I got right there. You see that? Kind of coming down. So we can just kind of, we can decide. Maybe this peak is the biggest, right? Definitely, not maybe. It is the biggest on mine, and I'll mix up a little more white. I never get enough out. Cut through it. And just start deciding what else you want in here. Is this one going to have the shadows? Sun's over here somewhere, it looks like. So maybe just kind of put a little bit right there. Need a touch more brown in that. Kind of match the other section. There we go. And maybe a little bit here. You don't have to have all these angles going the exact same way like I do. You can turn them and twist them and have fun with them. You're the creator here, not me. When you paint. When I'm painting for myself, I get to choose what I want, right? Have a nice little bit in there. I'm just not liking this one, so I'm just going to kind of let that one kind of grow into that one. There we go. That looks better to me. It may not look better to you, but it looks better to me. As I always say, my mountain. I get possessive of them, apparently. Dragging a little bit of that down in there. Maybe there's another little bit of a ridge right in there. And I'm just cutting through that paint each time I need it. I don't like that one that I just did, so there we go. There we go. And maybe this one is just comes all the way out over there. I don't know. Don't really know. Don't know that I care. Always like to just kind of make sure I don't have that too straight, like a straight line. Let that come out a little bit. We're almost done with this part at least. Let's connect this one. There we go. Ah. Yeah, I got an idea here. I'm seeing something. If I do this, it'll help me see it later too. Bring it out just a little bit more, just like that. There we go. All right, so a little brown A little bit of that blue. Mix up a shadow color. That's how you put blue and brown. Well, you could use the dark color. Forgot. It had the blue and brown in it. Makes a really pretty, almost to the green side of blue. A little bit of, you can almost see a little bit of green in it. Not too much. You wouldn't want too much, but that's about what I want right there, I think. Now, I always have to test my shadows to see if they'll come out here and play with me. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It'll be just a shade darker, maybe. I don't know. There we go. Yeah, got that. I hope you can see me using my palette. If not, I'm really not doing anything magical here. Nothing I haven't done before and you haven't seen other people do. Maybe be a little bit darker. There. Let's try that. Especially up here. You never want it to be too dark. If you get it too dark, then it's we'll cut through this one. Look how I did that. If I see a little piece of white there, it's not going to hurt anything. That's almost almost too dark there, guys. Maybe tone it down a little bit for the rest of the painting. Tint it down, maybe. There we go. I don't mind if you see a little bit of difference in different sections of your mountain. If you've never seen a big mountain, look at some pictures of them. They don't all have Prussian blue or phthalo blue sides for their shadow. It'd be silly, wouldn't it? I'm gonna grab a little bit there and just pull through that one even. Again, I'm not going to get rid of that little bit there. Just a shadow snow there. The only thing I can say about this knife is it does not cut perfectly. But if you use it enough, you can get used to it. But as far as putting the snow on, it's wonderful. Now that's not saying anything about the traditional brands and things. It's just this one is. And this one's, I looked online. I didn't know what this was, by the way. I did a video. I haven't put it on yet. I don't know if I'm going to. But it's kind of a similar painting even. I was talking about it. I was like, I don't know what brand this is. I don't know who Stumac is. And then I started looking. I was like, oh, it's a guitar palette knife. Guitar palette knife. Who would have thunk it? That would work for painting. It's kind of like I always say, your fingers will work if you want them to for painting. I need just a little more of that color mixed up here. Get close enough to it and we'll be okay. I wouldn't mind to have a little shadow running here. Something like that. Maybe there's a little bit right in there. Kind of makes those edges stand up there. Maybe right in there. Just create a little peaky. Yeah. If we don't like it, guess what we do? We cover it up, right? That's probably good for what I wanted today. Probably don't like that one. Guess what we do? You guys know. Brand messes everything up, covers everything up. All right. There. Get rid of some of that shadow. There, I like that better. Okay. Now we can do a little bit of brush working. I'll go back to that 1-inch brush since it's fairly clean. Big old rocky looking mountain. And just right in here maybe. Just kind of. I'm gonna brush it a little hard. Right in here. Right in here. Again, I got a little low with my mountain. I always get a little low if I don't put a mark. You can always put a mark on your canvas there. Especially when I'm sitting here talking to you guys, not blaming anybody. Not blaming y'all. It's just, I lose my perspective watching for some reason. I lose more than that, probably. I can bring a little bit of that down. It just looks like a little shadow color even. See that? That's that mountain down. Now here's something you can do. See that? That looks like a little ridge. I got paint on my lamp up there now. I'm going to take a little bit of brown, a little bit of white. Grab me a little bit here. Okay, just knock that in there. And then I want to push a little ridge of paint on my brush, and I can put a little ridge there where it could have come on down this way a little bit. Now, if we do that, we know that we can't probably use this brush again to tap it out. We're going to have to get a different one. Now, you could have put green there, and I may still go over it. I don't know. So let's grab us a clean brush here. I've got my old 2.5 inch brush here. Sorry for the knocking. There. I just kind of like that look. It looks like that mountain is just continuing on down into that valley. Down in the valley, you know. Alright, how we looking on the camera? Okay. Alright, we got our cloud, we got our mountain. I think that's good enough. You guys can mess around with it if you wanted to. If you don't like that brown part, take a little bit of white, a little bit of that brown. And I'm just I laid my palette down, sorry. I'll pick it back up. Went with that dirty brush that had the brown and white on it. Just got me a little bit of sap green. Maybe a touch of blue. We'll make that green. That way we start thinking about some little trees in there. Always push that brush and give it a little ridge of paint on the top there. So we can have, maybe some of that's rocks, but if we wanted a little bit of color here, we can figure out where's the timberline, right? Where's that timberline start? That's what it's called. You go up on these big mountains and, you know, it gets so high that there's just no trees will grow. Especially on like alpine type mountains. You get to the alpine and there's no trees going to grow up there. There we go. I kind of like that. Now I could sneak back in here, maybe just a faint hit of something. That's probably too dark for back in there. Maybe tone that down, guys. I'll tap that out a little bit. But you gotta decide, where do all of these go? Where do these stop? Where does this ridge of trees kind of say enough, you know? And it's almost giving a little push down there. See that? A little push down on the brush. I can go back and I can touch these again, push down. And I'll do this so you guys can see it a little better. Kind of try to make them look like they're fading away, not having a hard stop. So something like that. Fade away that top edge. See that? And adding no paint here, I'm going to go back and try to knock this one down. I don't mind that brown in there. That actually looks pretty good, but I kind of want a little bit up in here even. If I grab a little of the brown color, that's great. This can act as some little shadows and things. And then I'll show you something else here in just a second. Wipe some of that paint off. I want to get rid of all that mist back in there. So we can have it be a little bit fuzzy. Like, yeah, there we go. That's what I want right there. Just kind of brush that out a little bit. Perfect. Getting further away is not as detailed. You won't see those little ridges of trees. Now, what you can do, you can take a little more blue, a little more green, a little more blue and green, a little more blue and green, and you can start saying, well, if there's some here, there'd be some this way too, maybe. I don't know. You know, and you could have them going this way. I don't know if I want to do this or not. Maybe. Let's just try one. Yeah, that don't look too bad. Probably needs to be a little more blue. That's more in the shadows. More in the shadows, so it'd be a little more blue-green. There we go. Maybe we'll just, and then they would kind of combine, and then in the shadows they would come out a little lighter and all that good stuff. So, however much you want to play around there, I don't need any more. I've got way too many probably. Mainly, I was just showing you guys how to do that. Well, Also, I was having fun, so let's take our 2.5 inch brush here, 2 inch, 1 inch, whatever you've got, and let's just kind of go in here carefully and pop some of these up. They may, if we do this, and don't pop them too much. I'm not like that. I'm just like that. Okay? They may eventually look like a little valley of trees or something. And over here we can just get real crazy. Yeah, I love those colors over there. And then what I would do, just to kind of mist out some of that misty tree liney, tap it out a little bit at the base, get it back to more of a lighter tone. And then we're going to throw a bunch of big trees in here. I don't know how many of those. See, that one's almost too straight. I'll probably cover up most of that side anyway. That's about what I wanted today. Simple little mountain. Just playing around with it. All right, we're going to mix up a big pile of paint. We still haven't used many colors. Now we'll have to get some yellows out, I'm sure. Maybe a red or two. Let's take that blue that we've got left and most of our sap green. And just kind of mix those two together. Maybe throw a little brown in there even. Something dark, turn it over. Mixing paint's always fun. Just turn it over, pick it up as many times as you want. Now, what you will notice, the more times you pick this paint up, smash it back down on your palette, the looser that paint will become. It almost gets thinner. I don't know if, I guess that's some kind of breaking down of the molecules of the paint. I really don't know. Don't understand the science behind it, but it does happen. So, if you don't want your paint to get too thin, don't turn it over 8,700 times. Okay? Just kind of put it down. We don't need a row. Just kind of smash it off my knife there. And I am going to have to clean my fan brush because it's the only one I have laying here. So we'll grab it, tear off a paper towel, and just get some of that white out. Again, always just kind of squeeze from that ferrule on the fan brush. You don't have to keep going to your paint thinner. The more you go into your paint thinner, the worse off you're going to be. Now, unless you're really good at cleaning your brush, drying your brush, the worse off you'll be. Alright, so I'm just going to take that. It's got a little white. Hopefully it doesn't turn our dark to, yeah, it's not. Perfect. That's about right. I wanted a little bit of white in there anyway. Let's see how I load that fan brush, pull it through. You can even, for just some funsies, and it helps a little bit too, give it a little wiggle in the paint. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I can't say that real fast. I'm gonna watch what I say there. You'll be like, what did he say? Alright. Now we're gonna do something crazy here to start with. Yeah, that'll be about the right color. Don't do that. I was just testing the color in the white. And remember, this is still dry. When you paint, people get on to me. They don't say, well, why didn't you tell us the whole canvas wasn't covered? Or why wouldn't you cover the whole canvas? It's just my preference. The whole canvas could be, for this painting, the whole canvas can be covered with liquid white. There is liquid white, some kind of a thin white medium, whatever you want to use. It won't hurt a thing. Okay? I promise you. So let's think about, I'm just going to sock in some dark. I'm going to drop below. Yeah, I know that's really dark. Don't worry. Don't worry. We'll make it work. And you could take the 1 inch, 2 inch and do this. I just had the fan brush in my hand, so why not? Trying to save a little bit of that back in there. A little bit's nice. We don't need a ton of it. Alright, we'll get us a little row here of trees. These are trees. Don't look like it, do they? Reload that fan brush and re-chisel it. Let's see if you can see that chisel. Look how tight that is. All the bristles are packed in there together. And we want to just think about some little strike down trees now. This may not be my favorite brush for these. There we go. And I'll just kind of turn that brush. And I'm just going to put a few in here. And then some of these will be big trees. Some of these will be big ones. What you want to make sure of is that you don't have patterns emerging. You know what? I may switch brushes on you guys. Well, no. Let me finish this out here. I really don't care how these look. One of the reasons I smacked that dark on there is it gets you a head start. More than anything, it just gets you going. And that way you don't sit here and have to paint and feel like you have to cover up every little nook and cranny of the canvas with trees. I've got that brush kind of pointed up towards my ceiling. Hopefully you can see that. I don't want to, most of this down here is going to be water, so don't worry about what's happening down below. I like to let them get a little smaller towards the middle, maybe. There's a little clump of trees there. Again, just kind of striking down on that. Strike, strike, strike. And I kind of smushed the brush at the end. Now you can make a ton of trees really quickly. They don't look the best, but they're meant to be far away, so they don't really need to be perfect. If you try to go for perfection here, you're gonna be really disappointed. And occasionally go back and reload. If we can save a little bit of that green back in there, that's great. If we lose it, guess what? We don't care. Not the best work I've ever done there. On that shadow side of the mountains I'm talking about. Just kind of pulling down. I call them strike down trees. That's just what makes sense to me. Bob never, or people on TV never really had a name for them. Indications of trees and that sort of thing. Some of these are going to be bigger ones, so don't worry. Some of them look kind of rough and shady right now. That's a rough neighborhood of trees right here. Yeah, that's looking a little better. I was going to take my 1-inch brush out there and do these. I know somebody like Bill Alexander used to do that, and they look really good. But you have to use so much paint to do that. It's like almost unnecessary. And I didn't really want to do that today. That's probably going to be a tall one. I think that's good enough. So what I always do when I get these done, grab that brush. The color looks a little better on that brush. Put my fan brush down right in paint. Take a brush here and maybe give it a little wipe out on a paper towel. You can tear your paper towels off, which I do sometimes. And sometimes I'm lazy and just grab the whole roll. It really depends on what I'm doing. Alright, and I'm just going to smack down on these. There we go. Look at that. I fixed that problem, guys. If I remember to hold that. Now, one thing we got going on here. If you put liquid white on your canvas, you'll be better shape than me, because you're going to get, that's going to mix with the liquid white and not look so scratchy or dry. Dry probably is what I'd say. I'm just pulling a little bit of that color down. I want that water to be that color anyway, so not really a big deal. Now I always, let's put a little bit more right in here even. Okay. I always just give these a little bit of a pull up. And then you can even, if you get real fancy with them, you can even, I didn't show you, but you can take a little bit of white and get right below them there. Just kind of here and there. Pop a little bit of light back in there. Right under where you think the trunks would be, I guess. A little bit of light coming, zinging through there, maybe. Don't worry about it. It looks kind of awful when you do it. I mean, really awful. I didn't used to do this. And then sometimes if I remember, I'll do it. And I would take a cleaner brush and just kind of smooth that out and also straighten the lines. Sometimes I get my lines a little crooked. And I'm not worried about what's happening down below yet. This is all going to be water. All going to be water. There we go. Yeah, a little bit of light coming through there at the base of those trees maybe. Alright, let's just sock some dark on there and let's just scrub on our dark now. Sorry, I kicked the camera, probably made it jump. Let's just use that same dark that we've been using for the water and, I'm sorry, for the trees. Let's just put that in the water. And we'll just kind of scrub her in here. You can even add a little bit more green if you wanted to. I like it very green. Also will change the color from the trees. A lot of times we want to put this bright blue water in a landscape or a lake like this, and water doesn't look like that in nature. you got all those trees above it, you either really need a reflection of the dark, or you're going to need a reflection of the trees. Reflection of the dark. Reflection of the mountain. Crazy. It's Monday, so just forgive me. Again, this is where liquid white would make a difference. You'd have a little easier time covering this canvas. But look, it's dry. I've almost got it done. And I can decide how far those trees come down here in a minute. Not really going to matter. Not going to matter at all. Could also have done this one by taking black gesso and just putting black gesso down at the base of the trees. Right? Alright. Let's see what we got now. Let's see. Oh. We're going to need to get some more paint out. I know that. Okay. Well, let me do that and I'll be right back. Alright. Got the colors I wanted. And don't look at how I lay my palette out. I don't lay it out like would make sense. The light should go from dark to light or light from dark. So I just put my yellows over here. I don't know that matters. I know where they're at. It's not like I have to hunt very far there to find them. People are like, you got to put them all out on the, so you know where they're at. No, well, I've got pretty good spatial memory. I want to put a little dark back in here. Just a little bit darker than the trees. Okay, so I'm using a touch of black and the blue and green and brown mixture. Whatever. And just kind of close those trees off a little bit. This will be a little bit of a, sorry, holding the palette, that's going to make noise. This will be a little bit of a cove back in here maybe. Wish I'd grabbed my 2-inch brush. Could have done this much quicker. That's one advantage of the 2-inch. I don't use it too much to paint, but for smacking paint or for blending, that's probably the ideal places to use it. Right? And I don't want that just straight across. So let's think about, oh, that comes out over here. Maybe, I don't know. Get flat right there and then bring it out a little bit. Maybe it comes on down in here. Well, sorry again. We want it to be looking like a cove back in there. Want it to look like a covey area that we could go back in there and fish. Maybe this is an Alaskan lake. It's in the summer because there's a little more brown in that mountain maybe. There we go. All right. Now, before we get too far from where we're going, we do have to think about, well, we need a little bit of light in that water. We don't want it that dark. I'll take a brush that's got some green on it already and go right into my white. Gonna smack that on the brush here and, oh, I should have done this first. I'm always crazy like this, but put a little bit of light back in here. If I mess up my dark, I'll just go back over it. Grab me a little more. Yeah, see, this is where if you watch me, you'll learn what not to do more than you'll learn what to do. There we go. Maybe a little bit over here, and I can put this in at the end even, but I'll just kind of smack a little bit on here. Now, like I said, I use that 2-inch, or for me it's a 2.5 today. I use this mainly for doing this, for blending. It just seems to work so much nicer than like the 1-inch was. It's the more hairs, that's all that's going on. Nothing fancy. Actually pulling a little bit of that dark down in there with it looks really good. Whoa, that looks better than I thought it would. Green, we'll call this the Green Lake. Green Lantern Lake maybe, I don't know. I don't know if Ryan Reynolds would approve. I don't think he approves of the Green Lantern movie that he made. He's a wonderful Deadpool, though. Yeah, wonderful actor. All right. There we go. That's pretty good for now. We can always mess around with that. And again, if you messed up some of your little bits and pieces in here, just kind of go back with that 2-inch brush. I'm sorry, with your dirty brush. I know what the right thing to say is, but my tongue always gets it wrong. Believe that? Okay, there we go. Now we need some big trees. We need some big trees. We'll go ahead and paint some big trees. We'll grab our same mixture here. Probably need some more green out. Some green and blue and black and brown. Yeah, that's probably enough to do these. I don't want too many, maybe 3. I see a place for a tree right there, I know. I just kind of touch that little line on there. The reason I do that is just to give a little guideline of where the tree lives. You probably don't need to do that if you painted long enough. I don't typically. Let's put a bigger one over here. I know my hand's going to be in the way. And if you're careful and you don't really run a lot of pressure on that brush, you can drag your brush down like that. I'm going to have to get some more paint out, guys. I didn't put enough out. I've been trying to not put too much out because then you just waste it. Let's paint these 2 and then I'll decide where the 3rd one goes. Let's just do some down trees today, I guess. I might have a little issue right in here, so all you really have to work on is just making sure you can sock the paint right over it. If it doesn't work, if you're struggling right there, take a little bit of paint thinner, like a sniff of paint thinner on your brush, and that will kind of help you get that tree to live there. And once we get through all that snow from the mountain, it just goes on wonderfully. We don't really have to work too hard there. I'm using just kind of the corner to start with, maybe half the brush by at this point. But it's kind of smacking. I'll use a lot of the brush when I get in here because I got all that dark anyway. There we go. That looks pretty good. Pretty good. Could have been a little darker, I think. Put a little more black in there. I'd rather mix up a little more color, but I'm too lazy to get the blue and green back out. Because black changes your color quite a bit. You don't want it to get too black on you. We'll raise it just a hair. Just barely give it a few little touches to start with. I mean, just little, almost little marks is what I'd call them. These trees get so skinny at the top. These old evergreens like this. Now, are there evergreens that have really blunt ends? Sure. Or the ones that kind of get fat at the top even, you know, it's kind of chunky at the top. So it all depends on what kind of tree, what kind of region you're in probably, where your trees grow. Again, I'm still waiting on an arborist. If you're an arborist, start watching my painting videos, give me an email. We'll start talking about it. Are these hemlocks or what are they? Yeah, that looks pretty good. Pretty good. We're just painting some trees here, having a little bit of fun, and I'm just loading that brush up occasionally. Let's pull the old sleeve up here. Oh, you know, a lot of people don't do this. I don't understand why, because in a landscape in nature, you get different kind of trees. What if we put a up tree as the big one? That's a down tree. And our up tree just kind of start out the same way, little marks. Little marks. I may leave this one a little more sparse than I typically do. I've never really used this brush for making these kind of trees. This brush is cut kind of straight. I mean, like really straight. I can't explain it, but it's working pretty good. Just a little different feel. And we know that that tree is going to live off that canvas a good bit, so. And we also can already see where we're going to have an issue here, but then we just kind of sock right through it. It works. Oh, covered up my little cloud area there I left. Unintentionally left, I should say. Wasn't like I meant to do it. We'll close in those background trees to where they look a little further away. One thing I do notice is, and I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd have maybe made these a little different angle so it looked like those were on a hill too. Always something you see in a painting that you could fret over, but is there any need? For me, I mean, well, canvases have gone up in price. I don't care just to get another canvas out and paint another painting. Throw this one away and go again. I don't typically do that with my good canvases. If it's a cheapo that I'm painting on, which I rarely use anymore, but I used to, you know. But I was going to mention there, they're not cheap anymore. I noticed A 6-pack of cheapo canvases at Michael's used to always be $12.99, and then you get them on sale, of course. Those are the cheap ones. Good practice canvases or good beginner canvases. Sometimes they need a little gesso. And they went up. They went up to $19.99. And I went in and bought some last week because I had a class. And they tried to charge me $19.99. I was like, that's wrong. And I went back. The tag still said $12.99. I was like, well, they must just run it in wrong. I guess the pricing, they hadn't updated in the store, but in the system it had been updated. But they gave it to me for the right price. All right, let's stop with those two. I know that's weird, but let's stop there and think about some little grassy stuff back in here maybe. I can take that old dirty brush that's got a lot of blue on it. I got some cad yellow there. I've got two cad yellows actually. This is cad yellow hue, and this is cad yellow pale. So, no, that's weird if you've never seen those two. Let's just sock a little bit of grassy stuff back in here, and don't be scared to let some other colors come in. And sometimes I'll change the angle. Everything's kind of flowing down to our water typically in a scene like this. So as long as you keep that in mind, you really can't mess things up. And I have no medium or anything on my paintbrush. The yellow that I'm using is thin enough to where it's just kind of sticky. Just kind of feeding the brush into it. Being very loose, leaving a lot of dark. Also letting a little bit of that occasionally just kind of reach out into the water, maybe. Alright, we may sock a couple little bushes back there, bushy trees or something, I don't know. Depends on how long I want to paint on this one. I don't want to spend all day on something like this. But if you're worried, you say, oh, I got maybe a little bit of that color that's on your brush. Pull that into the water. Probably always better to paint from back to front. Not like Bram does here. Bram's got to get out of the habit of saying Bram because he doesn't want to be like Jimmy on Seinfeld. I don't mean to talk in third person. I was doing that all day the other day in a Zoom class. Very weird. A little bit of that color in there too. Alright, let's highlight our trees. To highlight our trees, we'll wipe that brush out. And we do have some black in there, so I'm going to see what happens with it. If there's still enough blue and green, we'll still get a good highlight color on those evergreens. If there's a little too much black, then it may get a little muddy or murky looking. So I'm going to take just a touch of liquid white. You can take a touch of paint thinner. Yeah, so I'm going to show you. You can see the black. See that? So what I can do is try to grab some more blue. There we go. A little bit of this in there too. Yeah, that looks pretty good now. Of course, I don't have enough yellow out for anything else, but a little bit more blue. Blue looks good. Blue on these evergreen. There's the color I want. If it's a little too dark for you, just go back and touch a liquid white or a touch of titanium white even in there. We'll brighten it up. Changes your color though. There we go. Let's go with that. About there. I'm just running that brush through it. And we want that paint thin enough to where it will stick. That's why I use the liquid white on trees. I definitely want to make sure that it's going to stick the way I want it to. And that just ensures that a thin paint sticks to a thick paint. Yeah, that's about right. That could be a little brighter, I think. A little more yellow in there. And as I'm working, I'm always thinking about that tree is going to get most of its highlights on that right side. But we do know that we have to put a little bit on the left side. You don't want a black side of the tree or a dark side of the tree. If you have that, it just doesn't look right. And it looks like you kind of took a chainsaw maybe down that tree. We don't want to do that to our trees. We like them. So down in here we get a little looser and freer. And some of that's land, so I'll just kind of stop there. And now on this one, I can show you all my little table light. It works really good. Probably see the little glow from it. Put me a little more of that in there maybe. There we go. Good bit of paint. A good bit of paint. Just kind of touch a little bit on top, and then I like to Look at that highlights over here. I can tell you, this one's a little weird. This fan brush is acting a little weird for me. For the up trees, it worked great for the down ones. Maybe a little too much paint. Take a little paint off there now. Sometimes you get a little too much paint, it just gets a little weird. There. Yeah, it's going to work a little better. Still got plenty of paint in there, and we still want to save plenty of that dark. We don't want to lose our dark. There we go. I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. I think I wasn't leaving enough spacing. Up trees are going to have those little, almost, you could reach right in there. A little bird could fly right there and sit. Down trees, a bird's got to navigate a little more, it looks like to me. We've got all kinds of evergreens in our yard. We like to spend way too much money on trees. And some of them look like the down trees, some of them look like up trees. Somewhere in here we say that's enough and we stop, right? There we go. There we go. All right, so we got 2 trees. We know we got to have a third one. I just don't know where I'm going to put it yet. But I do also know that I need some more paint out. Let me pause the video real quick. All right. Maybe another little pile of paint. Just that dark color, blue, brown, and green. I didn't put any black in this one. I'm going to go use this brush again. It's got a little yellow, but that will overpower there. There we go. I'm just going to sock some paint in there. And kind of leave it like that. Okay? Kind of leave her open. You want to see like little shapes like that on your canvas. Okay? That's a great bush shape to start with. Then you highlight all that dark. Okay. Could even throw a little bit of light in there. There we go. Don't make our bushes too dark. There, just tucked a little bit of white in it. Just a tiny bit. And I think, oh goodness. Well, I know I'm going to lose some of that. And I'm going to stop real quick here. I'm forgetting what I'm doing. Try to do this little section here. I want this to be a little more bushy. Okay, so clean your knife off best you can. I got a mess over here. I'm working with 2 palettes. That's just even messier. Find some whitish paint. Whitish means it's just light. It's got blue and green in it. Mine does. But it's kind of white. And I want to go back in here. And I want to think about just putting a little bit of a waterline before I get too far this way and I can't do this. You know, I'll mess up a bush or mess up a tree or something. So, and however much you think looks good. I like a lot of movement in my water. There's old murky water back in here anyway, probably. So, you know, do little amounts or really throw it on there, you know. I like that look, but that's me. Personal preference, right? And I don't need much here, but I do need some little shapes and bushes and things. I want to kind of sock in some dark and stuff. And I'm also going to have to sock in some dark for that tree up there, looks like. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm going to show you guys a brush. I don't know if I've shown this one yet. I think I have. I think I used it the other day. I just don't remember. And I've got to find me some more yellow. Cad yellow. I'm using an old tube of Alexander paint there for that. Moving slow, but having fun. That's all that matters. You know me. So this is a Wooster. W-O-O-S-T-E-R. Yachtsman. And it is perfect for doing highlights on bushes. Now, I think I used it on one video and I said, oh, I don't like it. Sometimes it's perfect, sometimes it's not. But for $5, or I think it's $6 now, you can't really beat the price. So, if you're looking for a cheap 1-inch brush to try out, go on Amazon or go to, I don't know if Lowe's has these, I bet they do. And try one out and see what you think. Let's see. Yeah, see how, oh, that's really nice. And that paint's really thick. guess it's because it's an old tube. It could be 30 years old, because I bought one of those Alexander kits that was from 1988, so could be from that set. Yeah, there we go. A little bit of highlight on those. Oh, just kind of think a little bushy, just kind of going all the way to the... I'm not going to put any rocks, I don't think. No rocks today. And they don't have to be like sock full of highlight color. It's pretty dark scene down here, so these would probably be the brightest, maybe. I don't know, whatever you think. I'll take a little bit of that cad yellow. You like, isn't that cad yellow? Remember, this is cad yellow pale hue, and this is cad yellow hue. Cad yellow hue looks a little orange out of the tube. Don't ask me why. Well, I mean, something to do with the paint. That's the pigment of it, I guess. So, and we can think about some little bushes in here that a little different color. I really like yellow ochre. I couldn't find a tube laying nearby, so I just grabbed this. Whatever this color comes out will be fine. And always try to layer your bushes. You gotta save some of the dark, but you can also layer them to where you don't really have a lot of dark. So if that ever becomes an issue to where you're like, oh, I have lost all my dark in my bushes or whatever it may be, tree highlights, just go back and put a brighter bush or a darker bush in front of something, you know, or if we're talking about bushes, talking about trees, just go back and put something that'll work a little better. I always kick that brush up a little bit. Never use it completely straight on. So what I mean by that is it's a little bit up like this off the canvas. So I'm going in with more of the top half of the brush. That keeps you from getting too much paint on the brushes you're working with it. All right, fix that bush. I don't care for that one. Now see, on that one I almost lost too much dark. So let me show you what I mean. So see, there's no real separation there. What do? Well, you can, oh, that's too much. You can do it a couple ways. You could, and I'm going to do one on this side one way, and maybe one on the other side another way. You could let that one be in the shadow a little bit because it looks kind of shadowy, but this one would then just kind of get a little bit more bright just to bring that one out a little bit. See that? So I'd brighten the tops of that one. And we'd say, oh, that looks okay. Let's go to the other side here and finish that. Maybe put a touch of blue in here, just a tiny touch into that yellow. And one thing that people struggle with bushes, and one of the reasons is you don't use enough paint. You got to have a good bit of paint to make this technique work for bushes. You can't just have a little bit of a stain on there and expect it to work pretty good for you. You really have to have a good bit. And then we can always, if we wanted to, just, well, we got the brush here and it's not too much paint. Doesn't have to match it exactly. Shadows are very forgiving little creatures. So we could do that and put a little bit of that in the water, and then whew, like literally that much, and then whew, this is even worse. Kind of go across it a little bit. Yeah, it's just a little bit in there. This side will show it a little better. I want that to be wrapping almost around there. And you can spend time and put more reflections in there if you want to. For me, that's enough, really. Well, I don't know that it is now that I see it. I got a little bright yellow one right there, so I want to make sure and see a little bit of that in the water too. Brush. There we go. Again, you could take the time and paint those and really make some cool things. But for me, I'm fine with that. Oh, this palette handling has not been good for my arm today. So I'm going to hold it down just a little bit. I'm just going to grab a little bit of brown. I lied to you. I'm going to put a little bit of rocky shoreline on there. Just a tiny little touch. I'm going to use that dark color we've been using, but mostly the brown. That's burnt umber is what I'm using today. And just kind of scrub a little bit of darkness in there. Pull a little bit in. Oh, maybe over here you get a little more. We still have to have a place for a third tree. Maybe right here. Kind of go up into that bush area a little bit. You can tell which side I'm better using the knife on, this side. More comfortable that way than this way. For some reason, that's just how it is. You'll find you'll make a better tree on one side of the canvas than you do on another. So it's so weird. I guess it's just, you know, how we hold things. Need a little touch back in there. I'll use a small edge to get back there. Yeah, and then we'll worry about, you know, bringing some of those bushes back down over our little bit of fun stuff there. Let's find some whitish paint if I still have some. I think I do right there. And a little bit of that brown color. Ooh, that ain't gonna work. Look, had too much blue in it. So let me grab some titanium white real quick. And hopefully I've got enough right here to do it. If not, let's go get a new tube out. Let me show you. Yeah, that's all that's left. I mean, I have probably 20 tubes in this house of different paint, so I'll have enough. Maybe not enough right there. Wipe our knife off, get some of that blue off there. Okay. Boy, I made a mess of this palette. Look at that. I told you guys I'd make a mess. Now you get to see it. Oh, right there's fine. A little bit of blue in there won't hurt it. A little bit more brown on that. You don't want to turn it over too many times. You want to leave it kind of marbled. Just run that knife over it. Put the paint down. Well, maybe I wish I'd put a little. I always like to have two browns, but there, and just kind of. When you cut that, you're going to grab several different colors. You're going to get all, you know, light whites or bright whites, and then darker whites and darker browns and lighter browns in there. So probably got, with two colors, you're probably getting 9 values or something. I don't know. Maybe there's a formula we can make up. And just back in here, just use our little edge. Somehow I got liquid white all over me. There we go. And then over here, and you'll see what I'm talking about. These will look better than over there. I don't really know why. I mean, I've got an inkling of why. But this just doesn't feel as natural to pull the knife this way for me. That's a little too dark. I'm sorry, a little too light. Put a little dark back over that. Yeah, there we go. Just kind of knock that down. There we go. Okay. Now, real quick, what we would want to do is just think about a couple of those little bushes just kind of coming on back down there. You don't want to see where you put those hard edges. Just kind of knock those edges of the rocks down. Just like that. Now see, that looks a little more natural. Hopefully it does to you too. And over here, maybe just a little bit right there. And you can use pretty much the same color, even if it doesn't match the bush that's behind it. Be a little grass or something. Oh, look at that. I like that. I like that little guy. I also could do this one while I'm here. I could say maybe there's a little bushier tree right there. Let some of those colors just kind of stand up. Maybe they're not all grass back in there. Now, I don't know if I like that or not, but it gives you a little bit more depth in the painting, I think, to have something like that. So, if you like the grass better, leave that. If you like that better, just go back or put them in before you leave that area, really. Probably always the best way to do it. I just kind of, like I said, I paint backwards a lot. I think some of it comes with the experience of being able to do that. Not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing. Let's take our palette knife and let's just find, again, some whitish paint. And right in here, we're going to need a little water on, aren't we? See that. I'm just going to kind of scrub that in there. Kind of flowing right around those rocks. I'm going to do it a little different on this side just so you can see it. What if you said I just want to touch a little water line? Well, I'm just kind of touching and pulling. I'm not really sawing. Just kind of put it on there. Something like that. I kind of like that. And then back in there, and then we've got to start thinking, oh, where's that water going? You know me, I like the flowing water. I don't like still water. Is that dark enough? I don't think it is. Because those trees are really dark there. So let's just sock some darker color in here. Just for that big old tree, maybe. It doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. I think that will look better. Put a little black in it even. There we go. And you can make it the shape of the tree if you wanted to. I'm gonna mess up my reflection doing this for sure. I'm just going side to side there because that tree's pretty big. Yeah, okay, now what I would do definitely now is we need to put a little bit of this kind of in the water there. A little bit more in there. And then find our fan brush that has our tree color on it and just kind of something like that. I don't know if this will look good, guys. It's probably overkill for things. But the only way I can learn to do things for myself is to try them. And if it doesn't look good, you just take it out. See that? You barely see it. It's probably not worth doing. Painting and art and all these things, music, whatever you're doing, creating is about exploration. If you don't take time to explore a little bit, you're just going to be doing the same thing over and over again. And here I am painting another mountain, right? Tell me more, Bram, but maybe do something different. Yeah, I got some different ideas. I've got one of me work on today later. It's pretty cool. In my head. If everything turned out like it is in my head, well, for one, it'd be terrifying, probably. I don't mind that water swirls a little bit there. But it would be, I think everything would look pretty good. I've got some good ideas. I just don't have the talent to execute the ideas. Always. That's more or less what happens with me. And we do have to find a little place for our third tree, and it doesn't have to be a big one. Don't ask me why I waited this long to paint it. I want to save a lot of that dark down in here. I'm just running that knife with a little bit of whitish paint. Making sure that your lines kind of stay straight across the canvas. If they don't, it's going to look weird. It's going to look like your water's wanting to run off the side there. Or like that. You've heard somebody say that before, and it's true. You'll look at a painting sometimes and say, boy, what is wrong with that? And it may be that. See, I've got a little bit of an angle there. You can always adjust those, just going back in a straight. Making sure it stays pretty level. And I like to, on a lot of these like this, I like to take a little white and just kind of touch a little. It's like maybe a little ripple there. Again, touching those, you would want to go pretty easy. You don't want to not sock too much, but you'd also kind of want to make sure they're going straight across. Now this would be a beautiful scene without all these water lines too. I don't like still water. I think it's about something about the movement in life. I like to see that kind of just keep going. I get weird sometimes. If it gets a little too dark on you or a little too light on you on one side, just kind of take some of your dark and get rid of some of it. You can also, when you're done, 2 hairs and some air, just kind of it almost makes it look glassy and watery to me. We need one more tree and then we're done. Maybe a bush or two. Just put a little one. Let's use that same fan brush. I just went right back over the dark that I had. I'm sorry, the light, because I highlighted the trees last with it. And we could have one just kind of hanging out right here, couldn't we? Oh my, there it goes. Just gonna step right there. However big you want it. I'm just gonna put a little scraggly one. That's what I was trying to say. I need another cup of coffee. I've really been getting into trying to make really good coffee. Like better and better and better. I don't know. I need somebody to come and taste it. I like learning things. So it's a weird thing to learn, but it's kind of fun. An old tree, kind of maybe that got stepped on there. You know, see the liquid white all over my hand. Killing that nice little different yellow bush there. I'll probably put that one back though. All right, you'd wipe some of that off. Wipe some of that off, and go back and get just a touch of liquid white, maybe just a touch. Go into our yellow or cad yellow probably. You want it to stay pretty light. You don't want to, I may have too much dark in here. I may have to clean the brush. Yeah, it's getting too. I can go up here actually. I'm not thinking. Look at all. I got too much. You need to wipe your brush out. For me, I'll just kind of do it a different way here. About lunchtime for the dogs here. You may hear them start stirring, but we're almost done here. Crank out a painting on a Monday feels pretty good. I don't usually paint on Mondays for some reason. Like I got to recover from the weekend. Not that I did anything bad. It's just what it feels like sometimes. Yeah, there's a little tree. A little bit of a tree at least. Let's make it a little highlight right there. There we go. Got a couple little small things to fix up and then we're done. Where's my brush here? I want to... Ooh, golly guys, I don't think I'll be able to hold this palette for you. I like having the camera close, and I asked people the other day on the Zoom class if they'd rather see me and the painting or see the painting a little closer up. If I'm trying to teach you something, you don't need to see my face, because usually I'm just biting my tongue because that's how I concentrate. What you need to see is, of course, what I'm doing on the canvas, and that's why I want you a little closer than a lot of folks videoing themselves do. I would like to have you just seeing nothing but the canvas and maybe have two views. One straight on, kind of like we're doing now, and then one where it's a little to the side so you can see the brush movement. That's the only thing that I would change. Not that I mind being on camera. Alright, I need to get that. Oh, there it is. Perfect. I had to find my other cad yellow. I like that little yellow bush. I didn't want to lose it. Yeah, there we go. I kind of like that color. Green, yellow, green in it. We got another one right there. Oh boy, that's pretty. That's a pretty color. Probably a little bright for down there, but that's okay. Now again, that water is moving. There's a little reflection there. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it. But if that water is really moving, you probably wouldn't see. I'd have to look at water. I'd have to look at some pictures here in a minute. I think when water is moving, you just don't see. You might see some colors, but you don't really see the reflections too much of what's above it. That's a good way to cheat. There we go. All right. And one last thing I decided to do at the last minute here. You're used to that. I want to see if that color will work. I could use a little lighter, couldn't it? I especially think this little guy needs a trunk. Put these in first before you highlight. I'm having a little more of a tough time getting that to stick. Just don't usually do trunks on my trees for whatever reason. And then always go back and just... That one really is okay. This one needs it a little bit right there. Right there. Right there. And then the other one needs it a couple spots. Just kind of knock it back into the tree. See that? Now just cover the top really. Over the top, cover the bottom. Usually we'll fix anything that you might see. Put a little bit in the middle if you wanted to. Let's do that right there. There we go. That looks a little nicer. There it is. Let's sign it up. Sign it up. I open my stinky paint thinner. The painting is never truly done until you put a signature on it, even if it's an awful signature like mine. Oh, that color looks pretty good today. It's not too yellow. I'll put it over here today. People ask me where I sign my paintings. It really depends on what's in the painting. I hate signing my painting, so my signature looks awful. Look at that. Okay, Bram's gonna wait. Get rid of that nastiness. Bram's gonna wait till this tacks up and then sign it. Sign it in the morning. There we go. I think that's good. I wanted it kind of open today. No bushes or anything in the foreground. Let me put my palette down and then I'll give you guys a straight on view. Let's hope we didn't have any audio issues like I've been having. I'm getting tired of those. Alright. There it is in all its glory. It's just an easy little scene that I didn't want to paint anything new today, but I wanted to paint. It's always good to sit down, put something on a canvas. Even if you've done it before, it looks like something you've done 30 times. It's better to do that than to just sit and not do something. So, very simple. Not many colors. You could make it much prettier than me. Take the idea, run with it, and have fun. That's all that matters. Again, it's just kind of a standard looking landscape scene in a wet on wet style. But everybody take care. I will see you. I've got a couple other videos coming soon. Trying to do 2 a week at least. And maybe start doing some lives. Because I saw the Zoom that worked pretty good. So I may do a couple lives here soon. So everybody take care. I will see you down the road and have a great week.